Hi there, and thanks for joining me. Today, we'll be diving into The Beekeeper, a 2024 drama that gently nudges us to reflect on solitude, memory, and the quiet reverberations of loss, a story that encourages deeper thought and quiet discovery. I'm glad you're here, ready to explore the layers beneath the surface, where meaning and detail quietly reside. If you appreciate thoughtful exploration, please consider subscribing so we can keep uncovering these stories together. You can watch The Beekeeper officially on select streaming platforms. Let's begin this journey with curiosity and care. There's a certain kind of stillness that falls over a film like this, a subtle, almost hypnotic calm that draws you in from the first frame. It's a story not in a rush, but rather one that breathes with the rhythm of quiet moments and whispered regrets. It feels less like a traditional narrative and more like an invitation, a door opening to a world where every glance, every pause, holds weight. The atmosphere lingers like morning fog, thick with meaning that reveals itself slowly, patiently. From the opening scenes, it's clear that we are not here for spectacle or loud twists. Instead, we find ourselves drawn into the intimate world of a man whose life unfolds between the rhythms of bees and the ghosts of a past he can't quite escape. At the heart of this film is a character whose life is as textured and fragile as the honeycomb structures he tends. He is a man weathered by grief, whose connection to the bees is both a refuge and a tether to the memories that haunt him. His solitude is not empty. It is a delicate ecosystem of pain, remembrance, and a yearning for redemption. The story brushes softly against themes of isolation, the invisible threads that bind us to our loved ones, and the ways we cope with loss when words fail us. It's a film that moves quietly but with profound emotional resonance, one that asks us to listen to the silence between the buzzing wings and find meaning in what is left unsaid. The plot begins with this solitary beekeeper returning to a remote village, where the landscape itself feels like a character. Vast fields of wildflowers, the hum of bees in the air, and an untouched, almost sacred wilderness. The rural setting is not just a backdrop but an extension of the protagonist's inner world, reflecting his emotional state and gradual transformation. Early on, we glimpse his fractured relationship with the past through flashbacks that are fragmented like shards of broken glass. Moments of happiness shattered by an irrevocable loss. As the narrative gently unfolds, it reveals that the man's retreat to this quiet place is as much about escaping the noise of his former life as it is about seeking solace in the company of his bees. What begins as a story of quiet mourning gradually takes on unexpected complexity as the layers of the man's past are peeled back. We discover his connection to a family he left behind, a son whose absence weighs heavily on his soul. The story teases out this father-son relationship with exquisite subtlety, never spelling out the pain but allowing it to seep through in small gestures, a lingering look, a hesitant phone call, a letter left unanswered. It's in these moments that the film's emotional core reveals itself, challenging us to confront the ways we distance ourselves from those we love when grief becomes unbearable. One of the most captivating elements of this story is how it weaves the natural world and human experience into a seamless whole. The bees are not just an occupation. They are a metaphor, a symbol of connection, fragility, and the cycles of life and death. The film's attention to the bees' world, their dance, their hive, their delicate balance, mirrors the protagonist's own struggle to find harmony within himself. These sequences are shot with a painterly grace, each frame almost tactile, inviting us to lose ourselves in the textures of honeycomb, the golden light filtering through the trees, and the quiet, persistent hum that fills the air. This sensory immersion creates an almost meditative experience, asking us to slow down and witness the beauty hidden in everyday life. Yet, beneath this calm surface, tension slowly builds. The story hints at unresolved conflicts that threaten to shatter the fragile peace the protagonist has cultivated. An unexpected visitor arrives, a figure from the past whose presence stirs up old wounds and forces long-buried truths to the surface. This arrival is not heralded by fanfare but slips in quietly, unsettling the delicate ecosystem the beekeeper has built around himself. The dynamic between these two characters unfolds with a simmering intensity, charged with the weight of regret and the desperate hope for reconciliation. Their interactions pulse with emotional complexity, where words often fail but silences speak volumes. The narrative's pacing, deliberate and reflective, allows us to feel every moment's significance. We're pulled into the emotional gravity of the protagonist's internal world, but the story never feels confined or claustrophobic. Instead, it expands with the landscape, the bees, and the memories that haunt the edges of the frame. There's a poetic rhythm to the way the film moves between past and present, between memory and reality. This dance between timelines is never confusing but rather enriching, deepening our understanding of the man's pain and his slow, painful journey toward healing. One of the film's most striking aspects is how it treats communication and silence. The protagonist is a man of few words, his emotions often locked behind a stoic exterior. Yet, the film shows us that silence can be just as expressive as speech, that what is left unsaid often carries the heaviest burden. This is particularly evident in his relationship with the village's few inhabitants, where brief, sometimes awkward exchanges hint at a deeper longing for connection. The film captures the fragile human need to be understood, even when words falter or fail altogether. It's a meditation on the loneliness that can envelop us and the fragile, tentative steps toward opening up again. There's a haunting beauty in the way the story unfolds, with moments that feel like quiet revelations rather than dramatic climaxes. The emotional beats come softly but hit with unexpected power, the glance at a photograph, the hesitant reaching out of a hand, the slow unspooling of a letter long kept hidden. These moments linger, resonating with the viewer long after the screen goes dark. The film resists the urge to resolve everything neatly, instead honoring the complexity of grief and the messy, non-linear process of healing. It's a story that feels lived in, real, and deeply human. As the narrative moves toward its conclusion, we sense a shift, a tentative hope that perhaps the past can be faced, that wounds might begin to heal, and that the man might find a way back to the life he left behind. But this hope is fragile, fraught with uncertainty, and the story never promises easy answers. The ending lingers on the edge of possibility, leaving us with a sense of quiet contemplation rather than finality. It's a conclusion that feels true to the film's tone, a delicate balance of sorrow and hope, of endings and new beginnings. In the final scenes, the symbolism of the bees comes full circle. The hive, once fragile and vulnerable, becomes a metaphor for resilience and renewal. The man's slow reconnection with the world around him, and with those he once turned away from, is mirrored in the bees' intricate dance, a testament to the fragile beauty of life and the enduring power of connection. The film leaves us with an invitation to look closely at the quiet, often overlooked moments of existence and find in them a profound meaning. Throughout this cinematic journey, the performances are understated yet deeply affecting. The lead actor embodies the quiet strength and fragility of the character with a subtlety that invites empathy without sentimentality. Every gesture, every pause, is charged with emotion, making the character's internal struggles palpable without needing grand declarations. Supporting roles add texture and nuance, embodying the complex tapestry of relationships that shape the protagonist's world and his slow path toward healing. This story, delicate as a honeycomb and rich as golden syrup, invites us to reflect on the quiet intersections of loss and love, isolation and connection, memory and presence. It lingers in the spaces between words and moments, where meaning often hides. It's a film that asks us to slow down, to listen carefully, and to feel deeply, the kind of story that stays with you long after the credits roll, like the lingering hum of bees in a summer meadow. The story unfolds like the slow unfurling of a delicate flower, opening gently to reveal its hidden heart. It begins in a landscape washed in muted colors, soft golds, browns, and greens blending under a pale sky. The air hums faintly, a subtle soundtrack to the opening moments where a solitary figure moves with quiet purpose. This man, weathered and solitary, carries an air of retreat, like someone who has been running from something too heavy to bear. He arrives at a remote village nestled among rolling fields and wild meadows, a place where time seems to slow and the modern world feels distant. He is a beekeeper by trade, a craft that requires patience and attentiveness, qualities that have shaped him as much as his grief. The village, small and nearly forgotten, welcomes him with the curious but reserved eyes of those who know the weight of their own histories. The man's arrival is understated, without fanfare, but it sets the stage for a story that will quietly unravel the layers of his past while weaving him slowly back into the fabric of human connection. From the very first scenes, the bees are everywhere, not just swarming around the hives, but present in the soundscape, the light filtering through leaves, and the delicate movements that fill the beekeeper's days. The bee's world is revealed in intimate detail, the careful opening of the hive, the golden honeycomb glistening in the sun, the dance of the bees communicating their findings. This natural world is a place of order and fragility, a mirror to the man's own life, which feels equally delicate and prone to fracture. As he settles into his routine, we see how much this place represents both sanctuary and exile. The beekeeper's days are marked by tending to the hives, repairing equipment, and watching over the bees with a quiet intensity. There's a ritualistic quality to his work, almost meditative, a way of creating structure amid the chaos of his inner turmoil. The film lingers on these moments, the gentle shaking of a hive frame, the slow pour of golden honey, inviting the viewer to share in the calm that the man seeks, even as it becomes clear that beneath this calm there is a restless, aching heart. Interwoven with these present-day scenes are glimpses into the past, fleeting and fragmented. Memories appear like flickering shadows, smiles exchanged, a warm hand on a shoulder, laughter echoing down sunlit hallways. But these memories are fractured, incomplete, haunted by a sense of loss that is never fully named. We learn that the man once had a family, that there was a life filled with warmth and connection before grief pulled him away. The narrative doesn't rush to explain, but instead invites us to piece together the puzzle, to feel the weight of absence hanging over him like a persistent cloud. One of the earliest encounters that shakes the fragile stillness comes when the beekeeper crosses paths with a few villagers, older men who remember him from years before, a woman who runs the small local store, children who watch with shy curiosity. These interactions are brief, often awkward, but they hint at a complicated history. The villagers seem to carry their own stories of pain and endurance, and their cautious acceptance of the newcomer feels like a slow thaw in the frost of isolation. The man's responses are guarded. He exchanges few words, but the tension beneath the surface suggests a longing to reconnect despite the barriers of silence and regret. As days pass, the routine of the beekeeper's life is punctuated by moments that reveal his vulnerabilities and desires. There is a scene where he visits a nearby churchyard, standing before a weathered headstone. The camera lingers on his face, eyes heavy with sorrow, lips pressed tight, capturing a profound moment of private grief. This silent pilgrimage is a powerful reminder of the loss that shadows his every step, the invisible weight he carries alone. It's a scene that asks the viewer to sit with that pain, to feel the ache that words cannot touch. Amid the solitude, small details begin to crack the veneer of withdrawal. We see him tend not just to the bees but to the neglected garden around the old cottage he now calls home. His hands, rough and calloused, coax new life from the soil, an act of care and hope. These quiet acts of nurture become metaphors for his tentative steps toward healing, suggesting that even in the bleakest places, growth is possible. The film captures these moments with a tenderness that feels almost sacred, inviting us to witness the slow, patient work of reclaiming life from loss. The arrival of a letter marks the first real disturbance to this fragile equilibrium. It is an envelope with familiar handwriting, a name that stirs something deep within the beekeeper. The letter arrives unexpectedly, slipping through the door like a ghost from the past. He hesitates before opening it, the camera focusing on his trembling hands. This letter becomes a catalyst, opening a door he had long tried to keep shut, forcing him to confront emotions he had buried beneath layers of silence. What follows is a subtle, emotionally charged exploration of the relationship that letter represents, a connection to a son he has not seen or spoken to in years. Their story is not laid bare all at once but unfolds with careful restraint, revealing the distance between them as both physical and emotional. The film explores how absence shapes relationships, how love can persist even when communication breaks down. Letters and messages become lifelines across this gap, filled with unspoken apologies and tentative hopes. At the same time, the village itself begins to feel less like a place of exile and more like a community slowly pulling the beekeeper back into its fold. He is invited to local gatherings, awkward at first, but gradually more present. These scenes are small but meaningful: shared meals, conversations around a fire, moments of quiet companionship that suggest the possibility of connection. The film's delicate pacing allows these interactions to breathe, each one a thread weaving a larger tapestry of belonging. The natural world continues to serve as a powerful undercurrent throughout the story. Seasonal changes mark the passage of time, the bloom of spring flowers, the warm haze of summer, the slow fade into autumn's muted palette. The bees follow their own rhythms, and the beekeeper's work follows alongside them, grounding him in the present even as his mind drifts to memories and regrets. These shifts in nature are captured with a painterly eye, each frame saturated with meaning and mood. One of the most poignant moments comes during a night storm, when the man risks his safety to protect the hives. The wind howls, rain lashes down, but he moves with a desperate urgency, a fierce determination that reveals the depth of his connection to these fragile creatures. This scene crackles with tension and symbolism, the beekeeper fighting not just the storm outside, but the tempest within. It's a raw, elemental moment that feels like a turning point, a reminder that even in darkness there is strength and purpose. Throughout this first stretch of the story, the theme of communication, both its presence and absence, weaves like a thread through every interaction. The beekeeper's silence speaks volumes, but so do the gestures around him, a nod, a shared glance, the handing over of a jar of honey. These small acts become the language of connection in a world where words often fail. The film invites us to consider how we reach out to one another when brokenness makes speech difficult, and how healing can begin in these fragile exchanges. As the story progresses, a figure from the man's past unexpectedly arrives in the village, shrouded in ambiguity and emotional weight. Their presence is a catalyst, disrupting the precarious peace the beekeeper has cultivated. The reunion is tense, charged with unresolved emotions that simmer beneath polite conversation. It becomes clear that this visitor carries both pain and the possibility of reconciliation, a mirror reflecting the choices and mistakes that have shaped the protagonist's journey. Their interactions unfold slowly, filled with pauses and glances that reveal as much as spoken words. The film avoids melodrama, instead offering a subtle, nuanced exploration of forgiveness, regret, and the complex nature of human relationships. This tension adds a new layer of depth to the narrative, suggesting that while solitude can offer refuge, true healing requires facing the shadows of the past. Intertwined with these personal dramas are moments of quiet beauty, sunlight filtering through leaves, bees dancing on a breeze, the tactile feel of honey dripping from a comb. These images are not just decorative, they echo the emotional currents running through the story, underscoring themes of resilience, interconnectedness, and the cyclical nature of life. The natural world is portrayed as a living metaphor for the protagonist's internal state, reflecting his struggles and hopes with poetic grace. The man's relationship with the village deepens in unexpected ways. He is drawn into community events, a harvest festival, a communal meal, that both challenge his self-imposed isolation and offer glimpses of belonging. These scenes are imbued with a quiet warmth, the gentle rhythms of shared human experience offering a counterpoint to the solitude that dominates his inner world. The film's pacing allows these moments to breathe, capturing the slow but steady erosion of barriers. One particularly touching sequence shows him teaching a young local child about bees, sharing knowledge that connects generations and fosters understanding. This interaction, tender and unforced, becomes a symbol of renewal and hope, the passing on of wisdom, the rekindling of bonds. It's a reminder that even in brokenness, there is a capacity to give and receive love. Throughout these developments, the story maintains a sense of emotional honesty that is both raw and tender. The protagonist's pain is never glamorized. It is presented as part of the human condition, a wound that shapes but does not define him. His journey is one of gradual awakening, of learning to live with grief without being consumed by it. The film's tone is meditative, inviting viewers to sit with the discomfort and find meaning in the slow process of healing. As the first arc of the story draws to a close, the tension between past and present reaches a subtle crescendo. The beekeeper faces a choice, to remain in his solitude or to embrace the difficult path toward reconciliation and connection. The arrival of the visitor, the unfolding relationship with his son, and the growing ties to the village all converge to create a moment of quiet reckoning. It is a turning point that promises change, even as it acknowledges the uncertainty and vulnerability that such change entails. In these early chapters, the film invites us into a world that is as much about what is unseen as what is visible. The silence that fills the spaces between dialogue, the small acts of care, the delicate interplay of light and shadow, all combine to create a richly textured emotional landscape. It's a story that unfolds with the rhythm of the natural world, where healing is not a destination but a journey, and where every moment, no matter how small, holds the potential for transformation. The beekeeper's hands, scarred and steady, become symbols of this journey, hands that both destroy and create, that tend to fragile hives and mend broken hearts. His eyes, often cast downward or fixed on the horizon, reveal a soul grappling with the ghosts of regret and the faint glimmer of hope. Through him, the film explores the universal struggle to find peace amid loss, to reach out despite fear, and to discover that even the quietest lives hold stories worth telling. And so, the narrative moves forward with a quiet determination, inviting us to witness a man's slow return to life through the delicate dance of bees, memory, and human connection. The story's first half is a tender weaving of past and present, pain and hope, solitude and community, setting the stage for the deeper revelations and emotional reckonings that lie ahead. It is a journey marked by silence and sound, darkness and light, loss and the fragile possibility of redemption. The air shifts subtly, as if the story itself has taken a slow, deep breath, ready to move from quiet reflection into a more urgent, layered unfolding. The landscape that once seemed merely a refuge now bristles with the weight of things left unsaid, memories too painful to ignore, and the fragile hope that flickers in the dark. The man who tended bees in silent solitude is drawn into a web of encounters and revelations that force him to confront the past he sought to escape and the future he thought unreachable. In this part of the journey, the quiet rhythms of the countryside begin to pulse with a new intensity. The bees continue their endless dance, but now their hum is underscored by the slow unraveling of tensions that have been held tightly in check. The simple patterns of daily life are disrupted, and the man's carefully maintained equilibrium gives way to the raw, unpredictable forces of human emotion. It begins with a letter, no longer a timid whisper but a bold summons from the past. The correspondence grows more frequent, each message peeling back layers of silence and misunderstanding. The son, once a distant figure in fragmented memories, emerges as a complex presence with his own wounds and regrets. Their attempts at communication, tentative and uneven, carry the weight of years spent apart. The exchanges are fraught with longing and frustration, moments of clarity and painful missteps, revealing the complicated nature of forgiveness and the yearning to bridge a chasm that feels both vast and intimate. A turning point arrives when the son makes the difficult decision to visit the village. His arrival is charged with unease and hope, the meeting of two worlds shaped by absence and yearning. The reunion unfolds with a delicate tension, fraught with emotions that simmer beneath the surface: anger, sadness, cautious affection, and the fragile beginnings of understanding. The film captures these moments with an unflinching honesty, refusing to smooth over the rough edges of their fractured relationship. It's a slow dance of tentative steps, where every glance and hesitation speaks volumes, revealing how deeply pain can linger and how courage is needed to face it. As father and son navigate this delicate reunion, the visitor from the past, an old friend or perhaps a figure whose role is more ambiguous, remains a shadow on the periphery. Their presence complicates the narrative, introducing threads of tension and unresolved history. The interactions among these three characters create a charged emotional dynamic, a triangle where past mistakes, guilt, and hopes for redemption intertwine. The visitor's intentions are not always clear, but their impact is undeniable, pushing the protagonist to confront aspects of himself he had long avoided. Meanwhile, the village itself feels more alive, its rhythms echoing the shifts in the man's heart. Scenes of communal life, shared meals, work in the fields, quiet moments of companionship, build a sense of connection and belonging. Yet this renewed engagement is not without its challenges. The man's struggle with vulnerability and trust plays out in subtle gestures and silences, highlighting the tension between the desire for connection and the fear of further loss. The natural world remains a powerful presence, a silent witness to the unfolding drama. Seasonal changes sweep through the landscape, the lush green of summer giving way to the golden decay of autumn, the bees growing quieter as colder days approach. These shifts mirror the emotional currents, underscoring the cycles of life and death, loss and renewal. The film's imagery continues to be rich and evocative, drawing the viewer into a sensory experience where every frame feels charged with meaning. A key moment of reckoning comes during a village festival, a gathering that pulses with life and tradition. The man, initially hesitant, is drawn into the celebration, a symbolic step toward rejoining the world he once fled. The festival scenes are alive with warmth and color, laughter and music, but beneath the surface lies a fragile tension. The man's presence is both a comfort and a challenge to those around him, a reminder of the past that has shaped the present. It is here that some of the film's most poignant emotional exchanges occur, moments where unspoken feelings surface in fleeting glances and tentative touches. The bees, ever present, continue to serve as a metaphor for the protagonist's inner state. There are scenes of tending to the hives that feel almost ritualistic, careful, deliberate actions that reflect the man's attempt to nurture not just the bees but also the fragile bonds he is rebuilding with others. The hive itself becomes a symbol of community and resilience, its intricate structure echoing the delicate, interdependent relationships forming around him. As the story moves toward its climax, tensions rise and hidden truths come to light. The visitor's role is clarified in a series of revelations that reshape the narrative, exposing secrets that have long been buried. These twists are handled with subtlety, never sensationalized, but their emotional impact is profound. The unfolding truth forces the protagonist to confront not only the external consequences of past actions but also the internal struggles that have kept him imprisoned in grief and guilt. The confrontation that follows is not explosive but deeply emotional, a meeting charged with vulnerability and honesty. The characters face each other not as enemies but as wounded people seeking understanding. The dialogue is sparse but heavy with meaning, each word carrying the weight of years of pain and the fragile hope for reconciliation. This moment serves as a turning point, a fracture in the walls the man has built around himself, allowing the possibility of healing to seep in. Following this reckoning, the relationship between father and son begins to shift. Their interactions grow warmer, more open, though the scars of the past are never fully erased. The film does not offer neat resolutions but embraces the complexity of real relationships, the way forgiveness is a process, often slow and nonlinear. Their tentative reconnection is portrayed with a quiet grace, moments of shared understanding and small acts of kindness that speak louder than words. The visitor, too, finds a place within this evolving dynamic, their presence a reminder that the past is never truly behind us but continues to shape our present. Their own story, hinted at throughout, unfolds with subtle compassion, adding depth to the tapestry of human connection woven through the narrative. The natural world, having borne witness to so much loss and renewal, reaches its own moment of symbolic closure. In a striking sequence, the man tends one last time to the hives before winter sets in. The bees, once abundant and vibrant, have diminished in number, a quiet reminder of the fragility of life and the inevitability of change. Yet within this fading buzz lies a promise, that life, like the seasons, moves in cycles, and even in endings there is the seed of new beginnings. The film's closing scenes carry a tone of gentle hope mingled with lingering melancholy. The man stands outside his cottage, watching the sunset paint the sky in soft hues of orange and pink. His face, weathered and lined, holds a trace of peace, a subtle shift from the haunted expression that marked his arrival. He is not healed, not fully whole, but he has begun to find a place where grief and memory coexist, where connection is no longer a distant dream but a fragile reality. In the final moments, the camera lingers on the bees, now quiet in their winter hives, a reminder of the delicate balance between life and loss. The hum has softened, but it has not disappeared. It is a sound that will return with the seasons, just as the man's story will continue beyond the frame, an unfinished journey of healing and hope. This closing feels both inevitable and earned, a culmination of the slow, patient unraveling that has defined the entire narrative. It leaves the viewer with a sense of reverence for the quiet moments that shape our lives, the small acts of courage, the tender connections, the willingness to face pain and embrace the unknown. The performances throughout this latter part deepen in emotional resonance, capturing the subtle shifts in the characters' inner worlds. The lead actor's portrayal is especially compelling, every glance and gesture imbued with a mix of sorrow, strength, and fragile hope. The son's portrayal echoes this complexity, conveying the tumult of reconciliation with understated power. The visitor's presence adds a rich texture of tension and empathy, rounding out a trio whose interactions form the emotional core of the film's second act. Together, these characters embody the film's central themes, the resilience of the human spirit, the enduring bonds of family, and the healing power of connection. Their journey is not easy or straightforward, but it is authentic and deeply moving, inviting the viewer to sit with the discomfort and beauty of life's contradictions. The story's second half embraces the messy, often painful realities of healing. It refuses to offer easy answers or tidy resolutions, instead honoring the complexity of grief and the slow, uneven path toward forgiveness and renewal. The film's meditative pace allows these emotional truths to breathe, creating a space where the viewer can reflect on their own experiences of loss and hope. In this way, the narrative comes full circle, from a man's retreat into solitude to his tentative steps back into the world, from silence to connection, from despair to a fragile, enduring hope. It is a story told with tenderness and restraint, a quiet masterpiece that lingers in the heart long after the screen fades to black. The bees, the landscape, the people, all these elements converge to create a rich, textured tapestry of life's fragility and resilience. The film invites us to listen closely to the hum beneath the surface, to find meaning in the quiet moments, and to believe in the possibility of new beginnings, even in the face of loss. And so, as the credits begin to roll, we are left with a sense of reverence and reflection, a reminder that healing is not a destination but a journey, marked by moments of grace, connection, and the enduring power of love. In the quiet spaces of this story, where the hum of bees blends with the breath of the earth, the characters emerge not as mere players in a plot but as deeply etched portraits of human complexity. They are sculpted with a tenderness that invites us not just to observe them but to feel alongside them, to inhabit their silences, their regrets, and their tentative hopes. Each character carries the weight of their past and the fragile promise of what might still be, woven into the delicate fabric of the narrative like threads of gold and honeycomb. At the center is the beekeeper himself, a man whose life has been shaped as much by absence as by presence. His face, weathered by time and sorrow, is a map of stories untold, etched with the lines of grief and endurance. There's a quiet strength in his bearing, a resilience forged in solitude and loss. Yet beneath this stoic exterior lies a heart tender and restless, a soul reaching out from the shadows of memory toward the possibility of reconciliation. His relationship with the bees mirrors the inner landscape he navigates. Just as the hive requires careful tending and delicate balance, so too does his spirit demand patience and care. He approaches his work with reverence and precision, each movement deliberate and slow, an unspoken dialogue between man and nature. The bees become more than insects. They are companions, symbols of connection, fragility, and the cyclical nature of life and death. Through his relationship with them, we glimpse his capacity for love and care, even when words fail him. His silence is one of the most telling aspects of his character. He speaks little, choosing instead to communicate through gestures and presence. This quietness is not emptiness but a language all its own, a reflection of the weight he carries and the walls he has built around himself. His eyes hold a melancholy that seems to peer inward as much as outward, hinting at memories too painful to voice. Yet, within those eyes flickers a subtle yearning, for forgiveness, for connection, for the chance to heal. The story reveals his past in fragments, a tapestry of joy and loss that shapes who he is. The glimpses of family life, of shared moments with a son now distant, reveal a man who has loved deeply but whose love has been tested by tragedy and time. This backstory adds layers to his character, inviting us to see him not just as a solitary figure but as a father grappling with absence and the hope for redemption. His journey is one of slow transformation, from retreat and isolation to tentative re-engagement with the world around him. This evolution is portrayed with exquisite subtlety, each small step laden with emotional weight. He moves through grief not as a linear path but as a series of moments, some dark and raw, others tender and fragile, reflecting the messy, uneven process of healing. It's a portrayal that honors the complexity of human emotion, refusing easy answers in favor of truth. The sun stands as a poignant counterpart, a mirror reflecting both the distance and the deep bond that connects them. His character is sketched with equal care, complex, wounded, and searching. He carries the echoes of absence and abandonment, his own pain mingling with a longing for connection. The sun's journey toward reconciliation is fraught with hesitation and guarded hope, e.a. The sun's journey toward reconciliation is fraught with hesitation and guarded hope, each interaction with his father layered with unspoken emotions. His struggle to bridge the gap between past grievances and present possibility is portrayed with a raw honesty. He is neither wholly resentful nor blindly forgiving, but a nuanced figure caught between anger and love. His attempts at communication, letters, visits, tentative conversations, are tender and flawed, mirroring the imperfect nature of human relationships. Through him, the film explores themes of forgiveness not as a moment but as a process, shaped by patience and vulnerability. Their reunion scenes pulse with emotional intensity, capturing the fragile dance of reconnection. There is no grand reconciliation, no sudden resolution, only the slow, careful weaving together of fractured bonds. The sun's presence acts as both a challenge and a balm to the beekeeper, pushing him to face his past while offering a glimpse of hope for the future. Their dynamic is central to the narrative's emotional core, a quiet exploration of how love endures despite pain and distance. The visitor from the past adds another layer of complexity to the character tapestry. Their presence is enigmatic, at once a reminder of what was lost and a catalyst for change. The visitor carries their own scars and secrets, a figure whose role blurs the lines between friend, confidant, and instigator. This character's interactions with the protagonist reveal new facets of the beekeeper's personality, his capacity for confrontation, forgiveness, and acceptance. The visitor's own story unfolds with subtlety, their motivations and emotions woven into the narrative's fabric without exposition or melodrama. They embody the theme that our pasts are never fully behind us but continue to shape our present in unexpected ways. Their arrival disrupts the beekeeper's fragile peace, forcing difficult conversations and emotional reckonings that propel the story forward. Supporting characters, the villagers who populate the quiet community, serve as a chorus of subtle witnesses to the man's journey. They are not mere background but living parts of the ecosystem, each carrying their own histories and unspoken connections. Their cautious acceptance, moments of shared kindness, and occasional tensions add texture and depth to the world. Through their interactions with the beekeeper, we see the possibilities and challenges of reintegration into a community that holds both judgment and grace. Among them, a woman who runs the local store stands out, a figure of quiet strength and warmth. Her brief but meaningful exchanges with the beekeeper offer glimpses of human connection that transcend words. She represents the gentle kindness that can break through isolation, the small gestures that build bridges. Their interactions are understated but deeply resonant, hinting at the potential for companionship beyond the story's primary relationships. Children in the village add another layer of hope and continuity. Their curiosity about the bees and their tentative friendships with the beekeeper highlight themes of legacy and the passing of knowledge. These moments of teaching and learning become symbolic of renewal, suggesting that even amidst loss, life finds a way forward. The presence of youth contrasts with the older characters' reflections on memory and regret, creating a balanced emotional landscape. The natural world itself acts almost as a character, its cycles and moods reflecting the emotional tides. The changing seasons mirror the internal shifts of the protagonist, from the hopeful blooms of spring to the quiet decay of autumn. This interplay between human and nature deepens the story's resonance, emphasizing themes of impermanence and renewal. The bees, ever-present and humming, serve as metaphors for community, resilience, and the delicate balance of life. The visual language of the film enhances these character studies. Close-ups linger on hands, tending hives, writing letters, reaching out, capturing the physicality of emotion. Eyes reveal the silent struggles, the unspoken words, the flickers of hope. The camera moves with a patient intimacy, inviting the viewer into the private world of these characters, making their emotional journeys palpable and immediate. At its core, the story is a meditation on grief and healing, solitude and connection, the human need to be seen and understood. Each character embodies aspects of these universal themes, their stories intertwined like the cells of a honeycomb, separate yet part of a greater whole. Their flaws and strengths, their silences and voices, create a mosaic of humanity that feels authentic and deeply moving. The beekeeper's transformation is not dramatic but profound. It is the slow thawing of a frozen heart, the tentative reaching out after years of retreat. His journey reminds us that healing is not about forgetting but about learning to carry loss without being consumed by it. Through his eyes, we witness the power of nature, memory, and human connection to mend what seemed irreparable. The sun's presence offers a counterpoint, a reminder that love is complicated, shaped by absence as much as presence, and that forgiveness requires courage and time. Their evolving relationship is a tender exploration of how broken bonds can be mended, imperfectly but meaningfully. It challenges us to consider the ways we hold on and let go, the tensions between past wounds and future hopes. The visitor, meanwhile, embodies the unpredictability of reconciliation, the way old wounds can resurface unexpectedly, forcing confrontation and growth. Their character enriches the narrative's emotional texture, highlighting that healing often involves facing not just ourselves but those who have been part of our stories, for better or worse. Together, these characters create a constellation of human experience, illuminated by the film's quiet, poetic storytelling. They invite us to reflect on our own relationships, with family, community, and ourselves, and to find grace in the messy, beautiful process of becoming whole again. In their silences, gestures, and moments of vulnerability, they speak to the profound truth that healing is a journey without a clear destination, marked by small acts of courage, compassion, and connection. It's a story that stays with you, lingering like the gentle hum of bees on a summer day, reminding us that even in our darkest moments, there is light, there is hope, and there is the possibility of renewal. The story of this film, much like the quiet, intricate world it portrays, is woven with unexpected threads, strange, fascinating, and sometimes almost surreal facts that linger behind the scenes like whispers barely audible beneath the hum of the bees. What unfolds in front of the camera is only part of the tale. Beneath the surface lies a tapestry of unusual occurrences, curious choices, and delicate secrets that shape the making of this deeply atmospheric story. These hidden details offer a glimpse into the alchemy of filmmaking, how a project grounded in silence and subtlety can harbor moments of chaos, serendipity, and mystery. One of the most striking aspects of the production was the filmmaker's insistence on authenticity, especially in portraying the beekeeper's world. The actors and crew spent weeks immersed in beekeeping workshops before filming began, not simply as preparation but as a way to absorb the rhythms and textures of this unusual craft. The lead actor, in particular, committed himself to mastering the delicate art of tending hives, learning to move with the precision and reverence required. This wasn't a simple matter of mimicry. It was a transformation, a slow internalization of a life that is at once fragile and fiercely alive. What is fascinating, and somewhat strange, is how deeply the bees themselves seem to imprint on the production. There were moments during filming when the presence of the insects became almost uncanny. At one point, a swarm unexpectedly gathered on set during a crucial scene, forcing the crew to pause filming. This wasn't a planned moment of natural drama but rather a spontaneous reminder of the unpredictable, living world they were trying to capture. The director later described this as a gift from the bees, a surreal moment when art and nature converged in an unspoken collaboration. The relationship between the cast and the bees went beyond the usual boundaries of filmmaking. The lead actor reported feeling a profound, almost spiritual connection during the scenes where he tended the hives. He spoke in interviews about the strange stillness that would descend as he slipped into the beekeeper's role, the way the bees' hum seemed to resonate deep within, almost as if they were communicating something wordless but urgent. This experience wasn't merely a technical challenge. It became an emotional and psychological journey, one that blurred the line between actor and character in a way that few films achieve. Another intriguing detail lies in the film's choice of location, a remote village that itself holds a curious history. The area, nestled in rolling fields and wild meadows, was once the site of a forgotten beekeeping colony from the early 20th century. The production team discovered this while scouting locations and felt an uncanny resonance with the story they were telling. Some locals still spoke in hushed tones about the old hives, the mysterious disappearance of several bee colonies decades ago, and the legends of a beekeeper who vanished into the wilderness. This serendipitous connection added a layer of eerie authenticity, as if the landscape itself bore silent witness to the film's themes of loss and resilience. The production's commitment to naturalism extended into how the film was shot. The director favored long takes and minimal artificial lighting, relying on natural light to capture the shifting moods of the landscape and the characters. This approach, while visually stunning, posed significant challenges. Weather conditions were unpredictable, often forcing the crew to adapt rapidly or wait for hours to capture the perfect moment. There was a particularly memorable day when the light changed dramatically mid-scene, from a warm, golden glow to a sudden overcast gloom, altering the emotional tone unexpectedly. Rather than reshoot, the director embraced this shift, allowing the scene to carry both light and shadow in a way that deepened its impact. The bees' choreography itself became a subtle character in the film, with the crew working closely with expert apiarists to choreograph the swarms and hive movements. One curious fact is that some of the bees used in the film were specially bred for their gentle nature, allowing the actors to work with them safely. Yet, despite this care, there were moments when the bees behaved unpredictably, an unavoidable risk that added a rawness to the scenes. The lead actor was once lightly stung during a take, a reminder that even in artifice, nature's rules remain sovereign. Beyond the bees, the film's sound design offers another fascinating layer. The hum of the bees was captured using specially designed microphones, capable of picking up the subtle frequencies of the insects' wings. These recordings were then carefully woven into the soundtrack, becoming an almost hypnotic undercurrent that shapes the film's atmosphere. The sound team described the process as listening to a world within a world, uncovering hidden textures and rhythms that invite the viewer into the film's intimate sonic landscape. One of the strangest behind-the-scenes stories involves an old beekeeper who lived near the filming location and became an unofficial consultant. He would visit the set unannounced, offering advice and anecdotes that sometimes bordered on the mystical. This man spoke of bees as if they were guardians of secrets, keepers of ancient wisdom passed down through generations. His presence added an unexpected dimension to the production, a touch of folklore and reverence that seemed to seep into the film's very soul. The cast and crew affectionately called him the Bee Whisperer, and his tales often became part of the storytelling tapestry, blurring the lines between reality and myth. The film's wardrobe and props were crafted with a similar attention to detail and authenticity. The beekeeper's clothing was not merely costume but practical gear sourced from local artisans familiar with rural life. Each piece was carefully chosen to reflect the character's personality and history. The worn gloves, the patched jacket, the faded hat, all telling silent stories of labor, care, and time. Even the tools used in the hive were period-appropriate, some hand-forged, lending an almost timeless quality to the scenes. Another layer of oddity emerges in the film's narrative structure itself. The story's fragmented flashbacks were crafted using a deliberately unconventional editing style, with scenes shifting between past and present in ways that mimic the workings of memory rather than linear time. The editor described this approach as catching the way grief feels, not tidy or chronological, but a collage of moments that surface unexpectedly. This non-linear storytelling required close collaboration between director, editor, and actors to ensure emotional continuity amid the jumps, resulting in a film that feels like a living, breathing organism, fluid, elusive, and deeply human. The production also faced unique challenges with the use of natural light, especially in interior scenes set in the protagonist's cottage. The filmmakers chose not to rely on heavy artificial lighting, which meant working with the shifting daylight and shadows cast by windows and trees. This choice created a visual poetry but demanded precise timing and patience. There was a memorable scene filmed just as the sun was setting, where the soft amber light streamed through a cracked window, illuminating dust motes floating in the air. This brief moment of natural beauty became one of the film's most iconic images, a quiet, luminous pause that encapsulates its tone. The act of tending the bees emerges as a pivotal motif, embodying the intersection of care, fragility, and resilience. This event, seen repeatedly throughout the film, is more than occupational detail. It is a symbol of the protagonist's struggle to nurture life amidst loss. From a critical perspective, the bees represent a living metaphor for the human condition, their delicate hives echoing the precariousness of relationships and the rhythms of healing. Scholars and reviewers alike have noted how the film's lingering shots of bees at work transform these creatures into metaphors for community, communication, and survival. This motif deepens the film's emotional resonance, inviting audiences to reflect on the interconnectedness of all life and the patience required to rebuild what has been broken. A significant event that commands critical attention is the arrival of the letter from the protagonist's son, a narrative catalyst that cracks open the sealed chamber of grief and silence. This moment is heavy with symbolic and emotional weight, serving as the narrative's first clear incitement toward confrontation and possible reconciliation. Critically, the letter functions as both a plot device and a thematic touchstone, representing the enduring ties of family that persist despite physical and emotional distance. The tension surrounding this correspondence is palpable, revealing the film's nuanced exploration of communication, how love and regret are transmitted through absence as much as presence. The subtlety of this event has been praised for its refusal to resort to melodrama, instead conveying complexity through small gestures and silences. The son's eventual arrival in the village marks a critical turning point, both narratively and emotionally. Their reunion is fraught with ambiguity, capturing the messiness of fractured relationships with unflinching honesty. From a critical viewpoint, this event destabilizes the fragile peace the protagonist has constructed, forcing him to navigate the raw terrain of forgiveness and unmet expectations. This reunion is emblematic of the film's larger theme, the struggle to reconcile past pain with the possibility of renewal. Critics often highlight the restrained performances here, noting how the actors convey volumes through minimal dialogue, letting silence carry the weight of unresolved emotions. This scene's impact lies in its realism. The absence of easy resolution makes the moment more authentic and relatable, enhancing the film's emotional depth. Interwoven with these personal dramas is the arrival of the visitor from the past, whose presence injects further complexity into the narrative. This character acts as a catalyst, stirring unresolved tensions and bringing buried secrets to light. From a critical perspective, the visitor embodies the persistent shadow of history, the way past mistakes and unspoken truths continue to shape the present. Their ambiguous role blurs lines between antagonist and healer, complicating the narrative's moral landscape. This event prompts reflection on themes of accountability and redemption, adding layers of psychological tension that heighten the story's stakes. Critics have remarked on how this figure's interactions with the protagonist challenge simplistic notions of forgiveness, offering instead a nuanced portrayal of human frailty. The film's use of natural cycles, the changing seasons, the bee's life cycle, frames these emotional events within a broader existential context. This thematic layering invites viewers to consider the universality of grief and renewal, situating the personal within the cosmic. Critics frequently discuss how the film's visual language, its painterly depictions of light, shadow, and nature, enriches its thematic concerns, turning the landscape into a silent witness and participant. The cyclical nature of the natural world underscores the story's meditation on impermanence and the possibility of rebirth. This interplay between human experience and nature elevates the narrative, allowing it to resonate on both intimate and universal levels. The Village Festival, a lively communal event, contrasts sharply with the protagonist's initial isolation, symbolizing the tentative re-entry into the social world. This event functions critically as a narrative fulcrum, where the protagonist confronts the tensions between solitude and belonging. The festival scenes are suffused with warmth and human connection, but also carry undercurrents of discomfort and alienation. This duality reflects the complexity of reintegration after trauma, a theme that critics have noted for its subtle portrayal of vulnerability and resilience. The juxtaposition of communal celebration with the protagonist's internal struggle enriches the film's emotional texture, highlighting the delicate balance between self-preservation and openness. Throughout the film, moments of silence and stillness emerge as powerful emotional events in their own right. Critics often emphasize the film's mastery of silence, not as absence but as presence. These quiet intervals allow for reflection and emotional processing, inviting audiences into the characters' inner lives without the need for exposition. The film's pacing, slow and deliberate, is key to this effect, fostering a contemplative mood that encourages viewers to dwell on the subtleties of grief and healing. This stylistic choice has garnered acclaim for its boldness and sensitivity, positioning the film within a tradition of meditative cinema that values emotional authenticity over spectacle. A particularly critical scene unfolds during a confrontation between the protagonist and the visitor, where buried resentments and fragile hopes collide. This moment of raw emotional exposure functions as a climax within the narrative's psychological terrain. From a critical perspective, it exemplifies the film's commitment to exploring human complexity without resorting to clichés or easy resolutions. The scene's sparse dialogue and charged silences create a space where unspoken pain is finally given voice, revealing the characters' shared vulnerabilities. Critics have highlighted this event as a masterclass in restraint and emotional intensity, demonstrating how subtlety can heighten dramatic impact. The film's resolution, marked by a quiet but profound shift in the protagonist's demeanor, has sparked varied critical interpretations. Rather than offering a tidy conclusion, the ending embraces ambiguity, reflecting the ongoing nature of grief and healing. This choice has been praised for its honesty and realism, resisting the temptation of cinematic closure to instead honor life's complexities. Critics argue that this open-endedness enhances the film's thematic resonance, inviting viewers to project their own experiences onto the narrative's unresolved questions. The protagonist's subtle transformation, a gesture, a glance, a renewed connection, suggests hope without erasing the scars of the past, making the conclusion both poignant and enduring. In an almost uncanny coincidence, the film's release coincided with a global resurgence of interest in bees and environmental awareness. While the production itself had no foresight into this cultural moment, critics and audiences later noted how the film's meditation on bees and nature felt prescient, an unintentional but profound reflection of contemporary concerns. This synchronicity added a new dimension to the film's reception, elevating it from a personal story to a broader commentary on our fragile relationship with the natural world. A lesser-known trivia piece involves the film's score, which was composed using a blend of traditional instruments and natural sounds recorded on location. The composer incorporated subtle bee-like buzzing and the rustle of leaves into the music, creating an auditory tapestry that blurs the line between sound and silence. This approach required inventive techniques, including recording instruments through filters that mimic the bees' delicate vibrations. The resulting score is hauntingly beautiful, a sonic reflection of the film's themes of life, loss, and renewal. Perhaps one of the strangest production anecdotes concerns an unexplained phenomenon that some on set attributed to the land's mysterious history. During the filming of a key scene near an ancient tree, several crew members reported feeling sudden chills and an eerie stillness, as if the air itself had thickened. Equipment would sometimes malfunction without explanation, and animals nearby appeared unusually agitated. While no definitive cause was found, these moments contributed to the film's atmosphere of quiet mystery, imbuing the production with an almost otherworldly presence. The cast's dedication to their roles went beyond standard preparation, venturing into immersive methods that blurred the lines between performance and reality. The lead actor chose to live in the cottage used for filming for several weeks before shooting began, embracing the solitude and routine of the beekeeper's life. This immersion deepened his understanding and connection to the character, influencing subtle nuances in his performance. Other actors similarly spent time with local villagers, absorbing the rhythms and stories of the community that inspired the film's setting. The director's vision was shaped by a personal fascination with bees and solitude, a theme that had long resonated with him. His own experiences with loss and healing informed the film's meditative tone and delicate emotional balance. In interviews, he spoke of wanting to create a film that breathes like a living thing, where silence speaks as loudly as dialogue, and where every frame invites contemplation. This philosophy guided every aspect of the production, from casting and location choice to sound design and pacing. In terms of technical innovation, the film employed a unique camera rig designed to capture close-up shots of the bees in motion without disturbing them. This rig allowed the cinematographer to weave through the hive's intricate structures, creating a mesmerizing visual experience that feels intimate and immersive. These shots required patience and precision, often taking hours to achieve a few seconds of footage. The result is a breathtaking portrayal of the bees' world, a delicate dance of light, shadow, and movement that echoes the film's emotional undercurrents. Another fascinating behind-the-scenes fact involves the film's use of natural materials in set design. The cottage interiors were decorated with locally sourced wood, stone, and textiles, chosen to evoke a sense of place that is both timeless and deeply rooted in the land. These choices contribute to the film's tactile realism, inviting the viewer to feel the textures and warmth of the environment as much as see it. The production designer described the process as building a home for the story to live in, emphasizing the intimate relationship between space and narrative. The film's release strategy also carried an unusual element. Rather than a traditional wide release, the filmmakers opted for a series of intimate screenings in rural communities and natural settings: gardens, small theaters nestled in forests, and even apiaries. These screenings were designed to mirror the film's themes of connection and contemplation, creating immersive experiences that encouraged audiences to engage deeply with the story. This approach generated a devoted following and sparked conversations about the role of cinema in fostering empathy and awareness. Perhaps most compelling of all is the way the film's strange, quiet energy has continued to ripple beyond its initial release. It has inspired a range of responses, from scholarly essays exploring its ecological metaphors to personal reflections shared in online forums by viewers who found solace in its meditative pace and emotional honesty. The film has become a touchstone for those seeking art that honors the complexities of grief and the delicate beauty of healing. In this way, the story behind the story becomes part of the larger narrative, a reminder that filmmaking is not just about images on a screen, but about the confluence of intention, chance, and the mysterious forces that animate creativity. The strange facts and unusual occurrences that pepper this film's making are not distractions but essential threads in the rich fabric of its existence, echoing its themes of connection, transformation, and the quiet power of nature. Ultimately, these behind-the-scenes details enrich our understanding and appreciation of the film. They reveal a production that is as much an act of devotion as a work of art, shaped by respect for the natural world, commitment to emotional truth, and a willingness to embrace the unknown. This story of making the film is itself a meditation on the unexpected gifts found in patience, presence, and listening, qualities as vital on set as they are in life. As the hum of the bees continues to resonate beyond the screen, so too does the film's strange, beautiful pulse linger in the mind, a testament to the magic that can arise when art and nature meet, when silence becomes a language, and when the smallest creatures teach us about the vastness of the human heart. Beneath the hushed tones and measured pacing of the film lies a world rich with emotional gravity and thematic depth, a landscape carved with deliberate care where every event pulses with meaning beyond its surface. The story invites viewers not just to watch but to engage, to lean in closer and consider how each moment ripples outward, shaping the film's profound impact. In dissecting its significant events through a critical lens, we uncover layers of symbolism, emotional complexity, and cultural resonance that elevate this quiet narrative into something far more expansive and affecting. From the outset, the protagonist's arrival in the remote village sets the emotional tone, a key event that marks both a physical and psychological threshold. This is not merely a change of scenery but a deliberate retreat into a liminal space, one that exists between past and present, memory and reality, isolation and the possibility of connection. Critically, this moment underscores the film's meditation on grief and exile. The village becomes a microcosm for the protagonist's inner world, reflecting his solitude but also offering a fragile space where healing might begin. The reception of this scene among critics often highlights the skillful use of setting as character. The film's emotional resonance owes much to the performances, which critics have lauded for their nuance and depth. The lead actor's portrayal captures the delicate balance between stoicism and vulnerability, imbuing the character with a palpable inner life. The son's portrayal complements this with a raw authenticity, conveying the turmoil of reconciliation with understated power. The visitor's complex portrayal adds further emotional richness, embodying the ambiguities of forgiveness and accountability. Collectively, These performances elevate the film beyond a mere story of loss, transforming it into a meditation on the human capacity for resilience and connection. Another critical perspective considers the film's ecological subtext, which resonates powerfully amid contemporary concerns about environmental fragility. The bees, as both literal and symbolic presences, evoke themes of sustainability, interdependence, and the consequences of human disconnection from nature. Critics have noted how the film subtly intertwines personal grief with ecological anxiety, creating a layered narrative that speaks to broader social issues without overt didacticism. This thematic fusion enriches the film's impact, positioning it as a work that engages both the heart and the mind. The film's aesthetic choices, its muted color palette, naturalistic lighting, and textured soundscape, have also been subjects of critical acclaim. These elements work in concert to create an immersive atmosphere that mirrors the story's emotional rhythms. The cinematography's focus on detail, the shimmering honeycomb, the flickering shadows, the shifting light, invites a sensory engagement that deepens the viewer's emotional investment. The sound design, particularly the integration of the bee's hum, functions as an auditory metaphor for the film's themes of connection and fragility. Critics argue that these artistic choices are integral to the film's success, crafting a cinematic experience that is as much felt as seen. The film's pacing and structure, deliberately non-linear and meditative, challenge conventional storytelling norms. This approach has elicited diverse critical responses, some praising its poetic resonance and emotional subtlety, others noting its demand for patience and attentiveness from viewers. Yet, this structural choice is central to the film's thematic exploration of memory and grief, mimicking the unpredictable flow of human emotion. The fragmented flashbacks and interwoven timelines invite viewers into the protagonist's fragmented psyche, offering a cinematic embodiment of the process of healing. This experimental narrative form enhances the film's emotional authenticity, making it a distinctive work within contemporary cinema. Critical discourse also highlights the film's exploration of silence and communication, not just as thematic concerns but as narrative techniques. The sparse dialogue and reliance on visual storytelling foreground the ineffable aspects of grief and love. Silence becomes a language, conveying what words cannot express. This emphasis on nonverbal communication challenges audiences to engage more deeply, fostering empathy and reflection. Critics have praised this element for its subtlety and emotional intelligence, suggesting that the film's power lies in its ability to evoke feeling rather than articulate it explicitly. The film's reception has been marked by a resonance that extends beyond its narrative, touching on universal human experiences. Critics and audiences alike have found in it a mirror for their own encounters with loss, solitude, and the search for meaning. This broad emotional appeal speaks to the film's success in crafting a story that is both particular and universal, a personal journey that reflects larger truths about the human condition. The film's contemplative tone and thematic richness invite repeated viewings and ongoing discussion, cementing its place as a work of lasting emotional and artistic significance. In sum, the critical perspectives on this film reveal a work that is as nuanced and layered as the world it depicts. Its significant events, marked by restraint, symbolism, and emotional truth, contribute to a narrative that challenges and moves viewers in equal measure. The film's thematic concerns with grief, healing, communication, and ecological interconnectedness resonate deeply, offering a meditation on the fragile beauty of life. Through its aesthetic mastery and emotional honesty, the film achieves an impact that lingers long after the final frame, inviting reflection on the complexities of human experience and the enduring power of connection. The making of this film was itself a journey into quiet worlds, a slow weaving together of intention, patience, and unexpected moments that echo the film's own meditative rhythm. From the earliest days of conception through the final touches of editing, the production unfolded with a delicate balance of artistry and authenticity, an intimate collaboration between nature, technology, and human creativity. Behind the serene images on screen lies a story rich with subtle challenges, inventive solutions, and moments of serendipity that shape the film in profound and surprising ways. Long before the first camera rolled, the filmmakers knew they wanted to immerse themselves fully in the life of the beekeeper. This meant more than just research or acting coaching. It required a total commitment to understanding the rhythms of beekeeping, the delicate ecosystem that supports it, and the man who inhabits that world. The lead actor spent months learning the craft, working alongside expert apiarists in remote apiaries. These sessions went beyond technical training. They became lessons in patience, presence, and respect for an ancient craft that is as much about listening as it is about doing. One of the crew members recalled that the actor's dedication was palpable. He didn't just learn how to suit up and handle the bees safely. He absorbed the quiet language of the hive, the subtle signals, the almost imperceptible shifts in the air. This immersion lent the performance an authenticity that resonated deeply on screen. The actor described moments when he felt a kind of communion with the bees, a shared stillness that transcended words. This intimacy became a cornerstone of the film's emotional power, grounding its meditative tone in lived experience. The location scouting was another crucial chapter in the film's creation. The filmmakers sought a place that was not just visually stunning but spiritually resonant, a setting that could embody the themes of solitude, memory, and renewal. After extensive searches, they settled on a remote village whose landscape seemed to breathe with history and mystery. The area's ancient fields, weathered cottages, and wild meadows provided a rich, textured canvas for the story. Locals shared tales of vanished beekeeping colonies and whispered legends of guardianship and loss, stories that seemed to seep into the soil and air. Shooting on location brought its own unique challenges. The production team embraced natural light and weather as collaborators rather than obstacles, a choice that required immense flexibility and patience. There were days when the sun slipped behind clouds just as a scene reached its emotional peak, forcing the crew to wait or adapt on the fly. One cinematographer described the process as listening to the light, tuning into its moods and rhythms to capture the perfect moment. This approach yielded images of remarkable beauty, golden shafts filtering through trees, mist hovering over fields at dawn, and shadows stretching long as evening fell, each frame infused with a sense of place and time. The bees themselves were a constant presence and sometimes an unpredictable challenge. The production worked closely with local apiarists to ensure the health and safety of the hives and the actors. Some bees were specially bred for gentleness, allowing the lead to work among them with minimal risk. Still, there were moments when nature asserted its wildness, a swarm gathering unexpectedly during filming, or an actor receiving a small sting that served as a sharp reminder of the creature's agency. These instances were woven into the fabric of production, moments of tension and release that echoed the film's themes. Sound design became a pivotal element in bringing the bees' world to life. The production employed specialized microphones capable of capturing the subtle vibrations of the bees' wings and the ambient hum of the hive. These recordings were layered into the soundtrack to create an immersive auditory experience that envelopes the viewer in the natural environment. Sound engineers described this work as revealing a hidden symphony, a sonic landscape that parallels the film's visual poetry. The bees' hum, ever-present yet elusive, became a character in its own right, an ethereal thread connecting scenes and emotions. Behind the scenes, the crew fostered a spirit of quiet collaboration, mirroring the film's contemplative tone. The director was known for encouraging openness and presence on set, inviting cast and crew alike to move at the pace of the story rather than the demands of schedules. This often meant long waits in the soft light of dawn or dusk, moments filled with reflection and small, unplanned interactions. One assistant director recalled how these pauses allowed the team to connect deeply with the location and each other, creating an atmosphere where creativity flourished in stillness. A particularly memorable anecdote comes from the filming of a night storm scene. The crew had to simulate harsh weather while preserving the safety of the bees and actors. They built a carefully controlled environment with wind machines and rain effects, but nature had its own plans. Just as the scene began, a real storm rolled in, intensifying the atmosphere beyond what artificial means could achieve. The director chose to incorporate the natural elements into the shot, capturing a rawness and immediacy that no amount of staging could replicate. This fusion of planned artifice and spontaneous nature became emblematic of the film's organic aesthetic. Costume and set design were approached with similar care and intentionality. The beekeeper's clothing was sourced from local artisans and designed to reflect the character's history and personality. Each item, a worn jacket, patched gloves, a faded hat, carried stories of labor and endurance, adding layers of meaning to the visual narrative. The cottage interiors were furnished with handmade textiles, rough-hewn wood, and found objects, creating a space that felt lived in and authentic. Production designers spoke of building a home for the character, a place where the story's emotional currents could find physical expression. The editing process was another chapter of discovery and experimentation. The film's nonlinear structure, shifting between present moments and fragmented memories, required careful orchestration to maintain emotional coherence. Editors worked closely with the director to weave these timelines into a seamless tapestry, using rhythm and pacing to evoke the experience of grief and remembrance. One editor described the process as painting with time, sculpting the narrative flow to mirror the protagonist's inner world. This approach demanded a delicate balance between clarity and ambiguity, inviting viewers to inhabit the protagonist's fractured psyche without feeling lost. Musical score and soundscape were crafted to deepen the film's immersive quality. The composer integrated natural sounds recorded on location, rustling leaves, distant bird calls, the subtle buzz of insects, blending them with traditional instruments to create a soundscape both intimate and expansive. Innovative techniques included filtering instruments to mimic the vibrations of bee wings, producing tones that hover between music and natural noise. The result is a hauntingly beautiful auditory experience that echoes the film's themes of connection, fragility, and renewal. The production also involved a unique community engagement component. Rather than isolating themselves, the filmmakers embraced the local village as partners in the creative process. They invited residents to share their stories, participate as extras, and contribute to set decoration with handmade items. This collaboration enriched the film's authenticity and fostered a sense of shared ownership. Villagers recall the production as a quiet event that wove itself into the rhythm of daily life, leaving a lasting impression that went beyond the screen. Among the crew, there was a beloved figure known as the Bee Whisperer, an elderly local beekeeper who became an informal consultant and morale booster. He shared ancient lore and practical wisdom about bees, imbuing the set with a sense of reverence for the natural world. His stories, sometimes mystical and always heartfelt, inspired the cast and crew, deepening their connection to the film's themes. The production team often credited him with bringing an intangible magic to the project, a living link to the landscape's hidden history. Technological innovation played a subtle but crucial role in capturing the bees' delicate world. The cinematographer employed a specially designed camera rig capable of navigating the intricate interior of the hive, providing close-up, fluid shots that reveal the bees' dance and hive architecture. These images required painstaking patience, with hours spent waiting for the perfect moment as the camera moved among the buzzing insects. This technical achievement brought a mesmerizing intimacy to the film, allowing audiences to glimpse a hidden universe rarely seen on screen. Interestingly, the production schedule was dictated by the bees' natural cycles as much as by traditional filmmaking considerations. Certain scenes could only be filmed during specific times of day or year to capture the bees' activity authentically. This constraint required flexibility and a willingness to embrace unpredictability, a philosophy that permeated the entire production. The result is a film that breathes with the rhythms of nature, its timing in harmony with the living world it portrays. The film's release strategy reflected its contemplative nature. Instead of a conventional wide release, the filmmakers opted for a series of intimate screenings in settings that echoed the film's themes. Small theaters nestled in rural areas, gardens, even apiaries. These events were designed to create immersive experiences, fostering dialogue between the film and its audiences. Viewers often described these screenings as transformative, spaces where the film's quiet power could be felt deeply and personally. One of the more unexpected fun facts involves a behind-the-scenes bonding ritual among the cast and crew. After long days on set, it became tradition to gather around a fire outside the cottage, sharing stories, music, and honey harvested from the hives. These gatherings fostered a sense of community and reflection, mirroring the film's themes of connection and renewal. Participants recall these nights as moments of joy and respite, anchoring the often arduous filmmaking process in warmth and camaraderie. The film's artistic choices extended to its color palette, carefully curated to evoke the natural world's muted tones, the soft golds of honey, the deep greens of wild meadows, the weathered browns of ancient wood. Color consultants worked closely with the cinematographer to ensure that every hue contributed to the film's emotional atmosphere, creating a visual poetry that is both understated and evocative. This attention to color enriched the storytelling, making the environment itself a silent character. Throughout production, the filmmakers embraced an ethos of listening and observation, qualities essential to both filmmaking and beekeeping. This philosophy shaped the working environment and the film's creative choices, fostering an atmosphere of respect and openness. It allowed space for moments of serendipity, unplanned interactions, subtle gestures, the interplay of light and shadow that became integral to the film's texture. Ultimately, the making of the film was a reflection of its subject, a delicate balancing act requiring patience, care, and an openness to the unexpected. The production's stories and fun facts reveal a process rooted in humility and wonder, where human creativity meets the living rhythms of nature. These behind-the-scenes insights deepen our appreciation of the film, inviting us to see it not just as a finished work but as a living, breathing collaboration, a testament to the power of storytelling to connect us to ourselves, each other, and the world around us. There is a profound poetry in the spaces where this film unfolds, a quiet world that feels at once timeless and deeply rooted, a place where nature and memory intertwine beneath skies brushed with muted light. The settings and cinematic elements do far more than frame the story. They breathe life into it, shaping the emotional landscape as much as the characters themselves. Walking through this film is like wandering through a living painting, where every leaf, every shadow, every beam of sunlight carries weight and meaning. To truly understand its power, one must first lose oneself in the world it creates, a world where setting and visual language meld to evoke the delicate balance of solitude, grief, and tentative hope. From the moment the protagonist arrives, the remote village becomes more than a backdrop. It is a character woven into the fabric of the narrative, its rhythms and textures echoing the internal journey of the man who inhabits it. The village itself, nestled amid rolling fields and wild meadows, feels suspended between eras, untouched by the rush of modernity. Weathered stone cottages with peeling paint and crooked chimneys stand as silent witnesses to decades, even centuries, of lives lived in quiet communion with the land. Dirt roads meander like veins through the landscape, flanked by ancient hedgerows and the soft bloom of wildflowers that shift with the seasons. The filmmaker's choice of this location was deliberate, a search for a setting that could embody the film's themes of isolation and renewal. The village's geography, a place on the edge, where cultivated fields meet untamed wilderness, mirrors the protagonist's own liminal state, caught between the past he cannot let go of and the uncertain future that beckons. The sense of remoteness heightens the film's contemplative mood, offering a sanctuary that is both refuge and crucible. Here, nature's presence is palpable, its cycles and moods unfolding in tandem with the story's emotional arc. Every frame captures the landscape with painterly care. The cinematography lingers on the tactile details, the rough bark of ancient trees, the dew-speckled webs glistening in morning light, the slow sway of tall grasses in the breeze. These visual touches create an immersive texture that invites the viewer to inhabit the world fully, to feel its quiet pulse. The light itself becomes a living element, soft and diffused in early morning, golden and warm in afternoon, fading to cool blues and purples as dusk settles. This choreography of light shapes the film's emotional contours, moving with the characters through moments of melancholy and grace. Inside the protagonist's cottage, the setting shifts to a more intimate scale, yet retains the same rich textural quality. The cottage is modest, its worn wooden floors creaking with age, walls adorned with faded photographs and simple handmade objects. The spaces feel lived in, filled with the subtle evidence of routine and solitude, stacks of weathered books, a jar of honey on a windowsill, a collection of tools hung with care. This interior world is a sanctuary but also a chamber of memories, where light and shadow play across familiar surfaces, conjuring the presence of absence. The cinematographer's use of natural light filtering through cracked windows and drifting curtains heightens the sense of quiet introspection. The outdoor scenes extend this intimacy into the broader world, where fields and forests become sites of reflection and transformation. One particularly evocative setting is the apiary itself, a patch of land dotted with hives, boxes of pale wood arranged like quiet sentinels. The hives sit amid wildflowers and tall grasses, a microcosm of life's delicate balance. The camera moves close to the bees' dance, revealing their frenetic energy within the ordered geometry of the hive. These sequences are shot with meticulous care, using macro lenses to capture the intricate architecture of honeycomb and the shimmer of wings. The bees' movements become a visual metaphor for connection and survival, underscoring the story's themes in a visceral way. The filmmaker's restraint in visual storytelling allows the setting to breathe, making silence and emptiness as potent as dialogue or action. This approach has invited critical acclaim for its subtlety and depth, with many reviewers noting how the environment becomes a vessel for the film's emotional currents. The setting's quiet grandeur invites viewers to enter a space of reflection, where mood and tone envelop the story like a gentle, persistent embrace. In sum, the film's settings and cinematic elements do not merely support the narrative, they are integral to its soul. The careful crafting of location, light, color, sound, and composition creates a world that feels deeply alive, one where the outer landscape mirrors the inner journey. Through this immersive visual and sensory language, the film evokes the fragile beauty of life, the weight of memory, and the tentative steps toward healing. It is a cinematic experience that lingers, inviting viewers to lose themselves in the quiet poetry of place and emotion. The making of this film was a quiet symphony of dedication, discovery, and delicate moments, an intricate dance behind the scenes that mirrored the story unfolding on screen. Beneath the gentle hum of bees and the soft light that bathed the remote village where filming took place, the cast and crew wove together a tapestry of experiences both challenging and unexpectedly joyful. These behind-the-scenes insights reveal a world as rich and textured as the film itself, filled with stories of camaraderie, ingenuity, and a shared commitment to bringing the story's subtle power to life. From the earliest days of production, it was clear that this project would require more than conventional filmmaking. The decision to shoot on location in a remote village, far from bustling cities and studio backlots, set the tone for an immersive experience that tested patience and rewarded resilience. The setting itself was both a blessing and a challenge, its natural beauty lending authenticity and atmosphere, but also demanding adaptability from all involved. One of the first surprises for the cast and crew was just how much the local environment would shape the rhythm of filming. The village was alive with its own patterns, the early morning chorus of birds, the shifting light through ancient trees, the unpredictable weather that could change from sunshine to mist within minutes. These natural elements became collaborators rather than obstacles. Crew members recalled how entire shooting schedules would be rewritten on a whim to capture the perfect quality of light or to accommodate the bees' unpredictable activity. It was a lesson in humility and flexibility, requiring everyone to attune themselves to the world around them rather than impose rigid plans. The lead actor's commitment to embodying the beekeeper extended beyond mere preparation. It became a form of immersion that influenced the atmosphere on set. Known for his quiet intensity, he spent weeks before filming learning to handle bees and working with local apiarists. This dedication inspired the entire team. One day, during a long pause while waiting for ideal light, he invited crew members to join him at the apiary to observe the hives. This spontaneous moment of shared discovery broke down barriers, fostering a sense of collective purpose and wonder. It was a glimpse of how the film's themes of connection and care extended beyond the screen into the daily life of production. The bees themselves were perhaps the most unpredictable cast members. While some were specially bred for their docile nature, their behavior could never be fully controlled. There were instances when a sudden swarm descended unexpectedly, sending the crew scrambling to safety. One memorable story tells of a scene halted mid-take when the bees decided to move en masse, circling the actors in a dramatic, almost choreographed dance that no director could have planned. Rather than frustration, these moments were met with awe and respect, reminders of nature's wildness and the humility required to work alongside it. Filming scenes involving the bees required meticulous safety measures and careful choreography. The crew developed a language of subtle cues to signal shifts in bee behavior, allowing actors and technicians to respond calmly and swiftly. This attention to detail created an environment of trust and calm that was essential for the delicate work. The lead actor's comfort with the bees grew steadily, and his genuine interactions lent a palpable authenticity to his performance that critics later praised. The relationship among the cast deepened through shared experiences of both challenge and quiet reflection. The son's actor, younger and relatively new to such an immersive role, found support in the lead's grounded presence. Their on-screen tensions were mirrored by an off-screen camaraderie that helped navigate the emotional demands of their scenes. The visitor's actor brought a different energy, sometimes playful, sometimes intense, adding a dynamic spark that enlivened the set. Together, the trio formed a subtle but vital emotional core, supported by a crew attuned to their needs. Off-camera, the cast and crew often gathered in the evenings around fires or in the village's modest communal spaces. These moments of respite became rituals, times to share stories, music, and food harvested locally. The sharing of honey, freshly gathered from the hives, became a symbol of their collective journey. These informal gatherings fostered bonds that transcended professional roles, creating a family-like atmosphere that infused the film's intimate tone. One particularly heartwarming story involves a local elder who became an unofficial mentor to the team. Known affectionately as the Bee Whisperer, he shared not just practical advice about beekeeping but also stories steeped in local folklore and wisdom. His visits to the set were eagerly anticipated, and his presence brought a mystical dimension to the production. His reflections on the bees' symbolism resonated deeply with the cast and crew, grounding the film's themes in a living tradition. Many later said that his influence enriched their understanding of the story and deepened their emotional engagement. Challenges abounded, as they do in any location-based production, but the remote setting magnified their impact. Weather was a constant variable, Rainstorms could flood dirt roads, making access difficult, and sudden temperature drops affected the bees' activity and the comfort of cast and crew alike. One filming day was famously disrupted when unexpected snowfall blanketed the village, forcing a halt to production. Rather than frustration, the team embraced the moment's surreal beauty, capturing impromptu footage of the snow-covered landscape that later found its way into the film's atmospheric sequences. Technical challenges required creative problem-solving. The cinematographer's efforts to capture close-up shots inside the hives demanded innovative camera rigs and patient experimentation. Several prototypes were developed and discarded before a successful rig allowed fluid movement within the delicate bee world without disturbance. These technical feats required collaboration between engineers, the cinematographer, and the apiarists, a cross-disciplinary effort that tested ingenuity and perseverance. The natural environment around the village is never static. Seasonal changes mark the passage of time and emotional shifts within the story. Spring brings bursts of color and new growth, a time of tentative hope, while summer's golden light bathes the fields in warmth and abundance. Autumn's fading hues evoke melancholy and reflection, the slow decay of leaves mirroring the protagonist's internal reckoning. Winter's muted grays and soft snows create a sense of stillness and pause, a moment of suspended time before renewal. The filmmakers use these seasonal cycles not merely for aesthetic richness but as a structural device, aligning the narrative's emotional beats with the Earth's own rhythms. The film's cinematography is central to its immersive power. The director of photography employs a restrained but deeply expressive visual style, favoring long takes and carefully composed shots that encourage contemplation. The camera often moves with deliberate slowness, following characters in their solitary walks or lingering on moments of quiet interaction. This pacing allows the viewer to absorb the textures of the environment and the subtle shifts in mood, fostering an almost meditative viewing experience. Color plays a crucial role in shaping the film's tone. The palette is dominated by earthy hues, soft greens, ochres, faded browns, that evoke a sense of groundedness and natural decay. Splashes of color appear sparingly, a bright yellow flower, the vivid orange of a sunset, highlighting moments of emotional intensity or revelation. This subdued coloration reinforces the film's themes of subtlety and introspection, eschewing dramatic contrasts in favor of nuanced gradations. Light is treated with particular reverence. The filmmakers often shoot during the golden hour, capturing the warm, diffuse glow of dawn or dusk. These lighting choices imbue scenes with a dreamlike quality, a fragile beauty that underscores the story's emotional undercurrents. Shadows are used expressively, casting long fingers across walls or fields, suggesting the lingering presence of memory and loss. In interior shots, shafts of light filtering through curtains create pockets of illumination amidst darkness, symbolizing moments of hope and clarity. The framing of shots frequently employs negative space, allowing the landscape or interior emptiness to speak as loudly as the characters themselves. This compositional choice emphasizes isolation and introspection, inviting the viewer to feel the weight of silence and absence. Wide shots of solitary figures against vast fields evoke a sense of vulnerability and smallness, while close-ups on hands, eyes, or simple objects reveal intimate emotional details. The balance between wide vistas and intimate moments creates a visual rhythm that mirrors the story's ebb and flow. Sound design complements the visual elements in creating the film's immersive atmosphere. The ambient hum of bees weaves through scenes, a constant yet subtle presence that underscores the connection between human and nature. Natural sounds, rustling leaves, distant bird calls, the whisper of wind, are captured with exquisite detail, anchoring the viewer in the world's sensory reality. Moments of silence are carefully calibrated, allowing emotional resonance to build without distraction. This thoughtful soundscape enriches the film's contemplative mood, drawing the audience into the protagonist's internal landscape. The film's use of symbolic imagery is woven seamlessly into the setting and cinematography. The bees themselves serve as a powerful visual motif, symbols of community, resilience, and the fragility of life. Their dance, the geometry of their hives, and their quiet industry echo the protagonist's own journey toward balance and connection. Other natural symbols, withered leaves, blooming flowers, shifting light, appear throughout, reinforcing themes of impermanence and renewal. Notably, the film incorporates recurring visual metaphors related to thresholds and transitions. Doorways, windows, and garden gates appear frequently, framing characters as they move between interior and exterior spaces. These thresholds suggest moments of choice, passage, and transformation, echoing the protagonist's emotional liminality. Reflections in water or glass introduce a subtle layer of duality and introspection, inviting viewers to contemplate the blurred boundaries between memory and reality. The interplay of weather and emotion is another key cinematic element. Rain, mist, and fog envelop scenes with a sense of mystery and melancholy, softening edges and blurring outlines. These atmospheric conditions underscore moments of uncertainty or sorrow, while clear skies and warm sunlight herald shifts toward hope and openness. The filmmaker's skillful use of natural elements enhances the story's emotional texture, making environment and mood inseparable. Lighting design within interior spaces is equally nuanced. The gentle flicker of candlelight, the warm glow of a fireplace, or the filtered sunlight through old lace curtains create intimate atmospheres that contrast with the expansive outdoors. These interior lights function metaphorically as beacons, small points of warmth and safety amid solitude and shadow. The contrast between interior and exterior light further emphasizes themes of isolation and connection. The film's cinematographic style also incorporates moments of poetic abstraction. Certain scenes dissolve into close-up studies of natural textures, the glistening surface of honey, the rough grain of wood, the delicate veins of a leaf. These shots pause narrative progression to invite reflection, elevating everyday details into symbols of life's complexity and beauty. This visual poetry deepens the film's meditative quality, encouraging viewers to slow down and perceive with heightened sensitivity. Camera movement throughout the film is deliberate and measured. Static shots dominate, grounding the viewer in the stillness of the world, but when the camera moves, it does so with fluid grace, tracking a solitary walk through fields, following a hand's careful touch, or circling the intricate hive. These moments of motion are choreographed to evoke intimacy and presence, drawing the audience into the sensory experience of the protagonist's life. Framing choices also reflect the psychological states of characters. Confined, tight shots suggest feelings of entrapment or introspection, while open, expansive frames convey moments of release or contemplation. The contrast between these visual spaces parallels the protagonist's oscillation between isolation and tentative engagement with the world.